How's it going, folks? Johnny Compton from the Amos Steel Company here in Hillbilly Caviar Studios. You're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohn. Oh, Dave. Oh, Dave. Get you some.
All Dave, all day. Thank you, Johnny Compton. I love that. Welcome to Guitar Tales. We also want to take this opportunity to thank a great friend of the show, Charles Larita, who is the owner and proprietor of Mischief Studios in Pennington, New Jersey. They've been a sponsor of the show for a few episodes now. And if you have any kind of guitar needs, and I mean any kind of guitar needs, go to Mischief Studios. In the first instance, Charles is a phenomenal guitar player. He gives lessons. He is a great songwriter. I will bet you a nickel if you need help writing music, Charles will help you out. If you have something like this, which I have not shown our guest yet, a broken guitar that's from 1930, look at that. He could fix it for you because he has got a whole craftsman studio in there where he helps people fix guitars. He will work on guitars. He'll set them up for you. And if you want to record at Mischief Studios, they have a top shelf recording studio. He also has his finger on the pulse of all the local musicians around there. So if you have, say, 2/3 of a band that wants to record, he'll bring you together with other musicians and they will help you get something really special together. So again, that's Mischief Studios as our sponsor here at Guitar Tales. And before we jump into the show, I always like to give a great shout out to Scott Guitarmacist Engel, our erstwhile, a new term we're using for him, publicist who puts the show together. He's also back in the studio at Noise Network Studios, doing all of the magical things that put our show together. And without further ado, we have an extraordinarily special guest tonight. Hopefully your head won't get too big to fit in the studio here with us. But we have the great Phil X with us, and I mean great. Phil has been the lead guitar player for Bon Jovi for many, many years. He's been with the band since around 2011 or so. He's been with Triumph. I heard a rumor that he was on The Tonight Show with my friend Todd when he was a producer there. He was with Alice Cooper, has recorded on many, many albums, has traveled the world, and perhaps more importantly for purposes of this show, is an extremely highly regarded craftsman on the guitar, both as a player and as I've learned from a little bit of my research in terms of building things for guitars. As much as we were chatting before we went on, I've learned that he knows a thing or three about pickups, designed a whammy bar of his own. So really has accomplished some great things in only 20 years on this planet. So Phil X, thanks for he's laughing. Thanks for joining us.
20 years on this planet. Wow. That's a long 20 years, man. How you doing, Dave?
I am fantastic.
Awesome.
We've been having a good time chatting before we started taping, but we really are. We're honored and thrilled to have you on the show. So thank you so much for joining us.
No, I'm happy to be here, man. I mean, it's always cool to geek out about guitars and guitar players and the gear and all that stuff. It's like, how do you go on if you don't do that? Right?
And that's a really good point. And, you know, I like it too, because it's getting into a piece of it that's not just sort of going through a chronology. I mean, I want to get into your biography, sure as hell, but I love to hear about the things that make guitar players tick, that you know are near and dear to their hearts. And what do you think it is about us that makes us love the gear?
Well,
You know,
I've been saying this for years, but I think we're the new nerd.
isn't that weird?
Instead of having like a pocket protector with like 8 pencils, we all have
Right.
like numerous guitars, numerous amps, numerous pedals, and it's basically our palette with which we paint.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's so much available to us, and that's what it's funny because I'm the guy. It's you know, a guitar made for me and a guitar and a pickup made for me and an amp made for me with all my endorsements and stuff.
Right.
But then when people are like, "Hey man, what hey, wow, that video sounds great. What guitar is that? What pickup is that? What amp is that? And I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter.
That's right. That's right.
It
Scott,
doesn't matter
sorry,
what guitar
Scott.
it is.
He
It always
fucking
sounds like
cursed. I'm
me.
really sorry.
If it's Steve's hands, it sounds like me. It's gonna, you know.
It is great. You know, we had we did an entire show. Scott just it's so funny. We could watch Scott texting and he said, "Fuck it."
I'm seeing that right now.
Yeah.
I know, because you talked about not keeping it clean
Yeah.
for the kitties.
That's right. Kitties, you just cover
So
your earmuffs.
I'll try to keep that my only F-bomb.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, what happened to my F? I had it. Oh man, it's gone.
Oh,
Okay.
fuck it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
So we did an entire show, and I know you're a pickup guy, and I told you in the pre-show, all I have behind me are P90s. I know you're partial to P90s, so we've got my bootlegger guitars back here because they're my only guitar. Although I cheated a little bit. I keep forgetting. We've got a little lipstick one over there, but everyone else is a P90. But we did an entire show just on pickups.
Wow.
And it was fascinating. I mean, we completely geeked out. And I know that you have a P100,
well,
right?
No, I have a okay. So my P90 is called the PX90.
Okay,
Not to be confused with the workout, the P90X.
right. That's right.
But it's the PX90, and then the PX100 is the same P90, but in a humbucker-sized housing to retrofit for like a Les Paul or an SG or something.
Oh, that's very cool.
And also that people put humbuckers and Strats. It's also a good one to put in there. The Super 8. So both my humbuckers, the PX8 and the PX Super 8, are L8 magnet pickups. So the Super 8 is also high output and is more Van Halen than any other pickup. I'm just gonna go out on a limb.
Yep.
And be as bold as I can to say that it's the most Van Halen pickup there is.
I love that.
Because it's like, I mean, I'm a geek too. Like we keep talking about it. We're geeks and nerds, but we use our ears to establish what we like and what we don't like. And I had a Super 8 and a guitar that I was using with Bon Jovi.
Right.
And I played something like, I don't know, say I was playing Raise Your Hands or something. And then the next day, John Shanks, who produced the last Van Halen record, Eddie gave him a pickup.
Okay.
And in turn, John came up to me and said, "Hey, I got a pickup for you." And I'm like, "Oh, what is this?" He goes, "This is an Eddie Van Halen pickup." He goes, "Well, like a Duncan or like who made it?" And he goes, "No, Eddie gave me this pickup." And
wow.
I'm like, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. Now, this is where you have to cross the line and be a dick. Because literally, I go to my tech at the time, Mark Van Gould, drop this in the green sparkle for Raise Your Hands Tonight. So he drops the pickup in, and I go to play it on stage. As I'm playing, I have a mic behind me if I have to talk to him or the monitor guy.
Okay.
A little more John's acoustic, or I'm out of gum, or I need more water, or I just broke a string. I talk into this microphone, and he hears, and what I need is what I get. But I'm playing in the middle of the song. I go and talk to the mic and go, "Is it just me, or does my Super 8 sound more Van Halen than any Van Halen's pickup?" And he said, "I was thinking the same thing." And so that was kind of funny how that went. I mean, not to I don't know, not to harp on other, Eddie Van Halen having his own pickup and it not sounding as much like him.
Right.
I just know that, and Eddie always said how he was a tone chaser and stuff like that. And I'm like, I want to get on a podium and say, "You had it. What are you chasing? You had it in 82. It was the best tone ever." Fair warning. So
right. The original Frankenstrike, you mean?
Yeah, or and he played Les Pauls and an SG on that and stuff like that. It was just always his hands, but he always used the same Marshall at the time, and always, they talk about the Variac and all the kind of stuff. It always sounds like him, no matter what.
Well,
the thing that was devastating about Ed's passing was that it was so devastating, but
right.
For the rest of the world, it seemed like all this stuff just surfaced on YouTube and all this stuff that we never saw before, photos, all this stuff from back in the 70s and the 80s. And all that stuff that you never saw before just surfaced when he passed. So that was like a gift to us, I think.
I
But
think you're right.
I do, but when you like, like he's in somebody's basement playing on somebody's Strat, and it's got a single coil in it, and he's plugged into you don't know what, and he's just fooling around. It sounds like him.
Right.
So, you have the guys that have the Eddie Van Halen guitar with the Eddie Van Halen pickup and the Eddie Van Halen amp, and they turn the gain as far as they can up, and they start playing Van Halen. And to me, I'm like, oh my God, it's they don't have the fire. Like, I'm lucky. I mean, I'm sorry to already jump into Eddie Van Halen.
No, this is what we want. This is exactly what we want.
I'm old enough to. I saw the Women and Children First tour. I saw the Fair Warning tour, the Diver Down tour. I saw the 1984 tour. I saw Van Halen with Roth 4 times before they parted ways.
Right.
And I was 14 at that first concert, and it not only ripped my face off, it changed my life. Like, and it wasn't even, man, I got to go home and learn those licks. It wasn't that, because I knew even at a young age that there's already an Eddie Van Halen. I need to be me. So I stopped tapping. I stopped using a bar at some point. I just wanted it to be anything that sounds like that, I can't do, kind of thing. So, but it's funny how what ingrained in me was his inventiveness, and like not only how he played, but how he made guitars look. Like, he started this whole thing.
Oh,
but it was always fire and joy.
Yes, because they're in his face.
Yes,
there was
the joy and the fire, and you see out of 100 players on Instagram that play Van Halen stuff, there's like one that has the joy and the fire.
Yeah,
and everybody else is just going through the motions, or maybe they could be accurate. They could be accurate as hell. But if I don't see the fire and the joy, and you don't do a backflip, I don't care.
No, it's I have to bring it up as a lawyer. And I mentioned to you before the show that, I'm a trial lawyer by profession during the day.
Yeah.
And there are some greats in my field. And there's a lot of folks who try to do sort of this mimicry of what they go to a seminar and they watch, some of the luminaries in my field, and they'll do like a plug and play. And they may or may not get a great result, but it's not, to use a word you and I were chatting about 40 minutes ago, it's not authentic,
Right.
And all over YouTube, it's so resonant with me what you're saying, which is that, you have people who play the notes just as fast and seemingly perfectly, but it ain't him. And it's like the Tone King said. Scott reminded me. Tone King was on with us. He said it's the magician, it's the magician, not the magic wand.
My favorite.
Yeah.
It's the Indian, not the arrow.
Oh, I love that one too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I researched your town back from Canada. Yep.
Wow.
And it is, do you know here? All right, this is Jeopardy now. What is first of all, I can't pronounce it. Mississauga? How do you pronounce the name of your?
Oh, that's Mississauga.
I can't even do it. All right, what does that mean?
In native Canadian? I have
Yes.
no idea. It's all over the place. Anywhere you go, there's streets named like Ontario, the province, right? Huron, Ontario, Huron Indians. It's all like Mississauga is one of those. I don't know if it means something or if it was somebody's name.
Oh, I do. I did it. It's the Great River Mouth, which is your town looks very cool, by the way. The town you grew up in. I looked at it.
Yeah,
the Great River Mouth. Yeah,
my one sister still lives in Mississauga. I have great memories. There's a lot of stuff in Toronto that I have great memories, and I love going back to visit. But I moved to LA in '97, and that's when stuff really started happening. Like, people like, what about Triumph? You were in Triumph. Triumph was amazing, but also weird, because even the guys felt like they were going on because they thought they needed to go on. And
interesting.
Our player, and I talked to Gil every other month or so. Like we just call each other. If I go up to visit family in Toronto, he's like, "Hey,
Right.
come to Metalworks and record," and I'll do that. But and I saw Mike a couple of years ago as well. But every time Gil wants to go to Tim Hortons, "Hey, Philly, you in town? Let's go to Tim Hortons. Get some coffee." I'm like, "All right, bud." So, so the friendship is still there.
Yeah.
It's just everybody. It was weird for me because I was supposed to be this hot shot gunslinger that came in to help the band move forward,
Right.
and when I tried to do my thing, it was kind of like, "Whoa, that's a little weird for Triumph."
Oh, they want it to be formulaic.
I don't know if formulaic is the word. I think it was. I think that the guidelines were a lot narrower than I thought.
Okay.
If you want to, formulaic kind of works, but it was the first time that Gil was singing all the songs, so that was another thing. Are you still there?
Yep. Yeah, I am. Scott gave you the whole screen.
Whoa. On purpose?
Yeah.
So it was, and I loved playing with the guys. I learned so much. Like, I mean, I always go into a situation as a sponge
Mm-hmm.
to learn. Like, these guys have been doing it for so long. I learned a lot from Aldo Nova when I played with Aldo Nova. When I was in the Canadian band Frozen Ghost, I learned so much from Arnold Lanny, the producer, songwriter, and singer of that band. And then you go down that road of being a side guy, and then you're like, I don't want to be a side guy anymore, man. I write my own songs. Why can't I have my own band and do my own thing? But then when I moved to LA, there's a million bands that are doing their own thing, and
Right.
40,000 bands in the LA Weekly every week playing, one of 5 sets, 7 nights a week, 100 clubs a week. It was crazy. So I knew we had to do something that helped us stand out as a band. But as I was doing the band Powder with my first wife, I also became the session guy. So I started playing on records, and that went from Tommy Lee's Methods of Mayhem to Rob Zombie to Alice Cooper and then another venue, which was more pop, which was Avril Lavigne and Kelly Clarkson. And then the Daughtry record that I played all the guitars on, except for one / cameo solo, became a calling card. It wasn't even, nobody knew my name still. They were like, "Hey, get that guy that did the Daughtry record." And then, "Hey, did you do the Daughtry record?" Yeah. Yeah, we saw the name. We didn't think it was real. So you're actually Phil X? Like, yeah, I know. So it's funny how that went.
It's interesting because sometimes the universe has really great plans for us, and we don't know what they are. We think we know what the plan is, and we go in a certain direction.
I think you're right. I think so.
Hey,
as my kid jumps in the shot. That was Xavier, and he's 9. And
oh, what a cool name!
Yeah, well, Professor Xavier. I was a huge X-Men fan.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So it's it's funny how sometimes you trip into your fate.
Yes.
Sometimes you just you glide into it. So it depends, I mean, I think there's different aspects of it. For me, as soon as I started doing the session thing, being a songwriter and trying to not, like, I feel like everybody starts, like, there was a session where the producer came in and said, "Big chorus, something jangly on top and done." But then after you do like 3 songs and you've done exactly that, I'm like, to the engineer, I go, dude, everything's starting to sound like a car commercial. We got to do something else. Let's do the big chorus. But then I got an idea. Let's do this. Because I know the chorus is king. I know the chorus has to be the climax of the song.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you have to support the vocal, excuse me, without taking away from the vocal. So I knew all these things, these steps that had to occur. So, and then he'd go, "Oh, I don't know." And then I would do it, and he'd go, "Oh my God, it's amazing." And then the next song, "Hey, I got an idea for this." So I kept coming up with different things, because you're working on a record. You don't want every song to sound the same. So the next time I came in, the producer walked in and said, "Oh, it's you. Yeah, just do your thing. I'll be back in 5 hours."
That is fantastic.
I saw the graduation of It's You. from the guy that just walked in to kind of like appease the artist to the guy that made everything sound amazing. So that was an amazing
journey.
feeling.
Oh, feeling is even better.
Amazing journey,
Yeah,
amazing
yeah.
feeling. You always feel like, wow, I'm doing my thing and other people are getting it. So I think that's what led to me being one of the top guys for a while it was a huge thing here. Everything changes, right? You know,
Yeah.
like budgets went diminished. Labels didn't know what they were doing for a while, but we were still working. So I'm very grateful for that.
But you know, it sounds to me so. It's almost a question of, well, how will your inner creativity manifest itself? And you thought, all right, maybe I will make my way, songwriting. But you have it in addition to that, you've got a different kind of creativity that found its way in the studio, where you're able to bring things to the fore that the folks who wrote the songs and the other musicians weren't able to. So you're still being that same completely creative guy, and you're adding things.
But my brain is different though. I have to edit my brain, because there's like when I was working on the Alice Cooper record, Brutal Planet, with Bob Marlette. So, it's rock and roll land, right? So Rob Zombie is golfing with Alice Cooper, and Alice is like, I need to get a really cool guitar player on this new record that Bob Marlette's producing. And Rob says, you got to get this guy Phil X. He's playing on my new record, and he comes up with the craziest stuff. And then so Rob comes into the studio the next day. I'm in with him, and he goes, did Alice call you yet? And I'm like, Alice who? And he goes, Alice Cooper. I gave him your number. I'm like, right. I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan, right? He's gonna call me, right? Like, not believing it. So Alice didn't call, but Bob Marlette did, and he goes, hey, and he had kind of had a, oh shit, another guitar player I've never heard of. He's gonna come in here and suck.
Right.
And then, he had that attitude. So when I went into the studio, he literally, okay, I got a couple of tunes that you can play on. I did all the rhythm guitars and the bass myself. So I'm just looking for pixie dust. Go. And then he started playing this track, and I just started playing something, and he goes, oh my God, that was great. Can you double it? I'm like, I need to hear it because I have no idea what I did. So I hear it, I double it, and he goes, I only plan to do 2 songs, but if you come back on Friday, I'd love to get you in another 9. And I'm like, oh, sure, okay. So it went like that. And then when you're working on the next batch, you're like, okay, what can I do in this song that I haven't done yet? So I literally was playing this riff, and I wished I had a really high note, but because of the key I was in, I couldn't hit harmonic. So I backed the screw off, so the neck pickup of the Les Paul, and I tucked the high E string under the screw, and I screwed it back in, tuned it to the note I wanted, and then I was going really low drop C riff with the really high note that's under the pickup screw. And he turned around and he looked at me and he's like, what the and I was like, I wanted to be like, right? But I was like, yeah, I don't know, just something. And so I did that, and then he started telling people, there's always people coming up to me, from the singer from Saliva to other bands that Bob Marlette was recording, going, dude, I heard about that pickup and the screw thing and thought, that's amazing. How'd you come up with that? And I'm like, man, that's my brain. My brain wants to do something. It's like, and that's another thing I got from Ed, right? He made the guitar that he wanted because it wasn't available to the public.
Right.
You can walk into a store and buy it. So he made it. So with me, it's licks. If I can't, I'll try different tunings. I'll try different things. I'll try different string thing. Like I have a thing called a Mizuki tuning thing, where both the E and the B string are tuned to B, but they're also sitting in the same nut notch, so that the metal rubs and it adds this really crazy flavor to the guitar. And I was doing that, and it was funny because I worked on the Gavin DeGraw record, Kelly Clarkson record, and somebody else's record. I can't remember right now. It might have been an Orianti song. Might have been. Anyways, so I kind of, you go in there and you get into your brain and you do stuff, but I kind of did a Mizuki counter melody in all 3 artists' song.
Okay, very cool.
Not cool.
No, because it's overlap.
I was not repeating myself.
Okay.
And I didn't realize this until I was at the gym, and I'm on the elliptical machine, and all 3 songs played back to back. And now, when you're on the elliptical machine and you hear your guitar on the over, the system, you're kind of like, I'm gonna kick this elliptical machine ass, right? But at the
That's
same
only
time,
PG. You're okay. You're okay with that word.
at the same time, you're kind of like, ooh, I got to give the bazooka tuning a break for a bit.
Oh, that's funny. But you know, don't you, that you're the only one critical of that? Like, I think everyone else is probably quite happy with what you did, and that's a great thing of what you're, because you're aspiring to get as high as you can get.
Well, and it's nice to know that I'm the guy that did that. And then when you walk into a studio where Scott Humphrey's producing somewhere else, and they have a guitar with my bazooka tuning on the wall, and I'm like, "What's that?"
Wow.
Oh, we call it the Chop Shop tuning. I'm like, shouldn't it be called the Phil X tuning, bazooka
That's
tuning?
right. That's right.
And then, or I'd be working on a Our Lady Peace record with Bob Rock, and Rain goes, "Hey man, do that bazooka tuning thing," and I do that, and even Bob Rock goes, "I'm gonna steal that," and I go, "Everybody does."
That's a good feeling, though.
Yeah,
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery, as they say.
it really is. It's nice to get the credit, like,
Yeah.
because that's what I see a lot of now. People are not afraid to pass the credit along. For instance, I see these guys doing reels, and they're going, "Hey man, check out this Phil X lick," and I'm like, "What? Oh, that's flattering and nice that you said my name. That's kind of cool."
It is cool, and that's a nice way to live your life in a very round world.
Yes,
It's good karma.
yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
Yeah, once in a while I come up with it, but so so let's. I want to go backwards a little bit now, if we
Okay,
could.
good.
Let's talk about, how did you originally get hooked up with Bon Jovi? What's the backstory there?
John Shanks, who at the time had already produced some records with Bon Jovi, and co-wrote with John and Richie, and all. They had this history now, a bunch of records.
Right.
I think the first song they did together was "Have a Nice Day," and
Okay.
and moving onward, they did a country record together and some other records and stuff. And he is a guitar collector, so he's got 50s and 60s and 70s Les Pauls, Tellys, Strats, SGs, 335s, Trini Lopez's. He's got them all, right? He's a collector.
Right.
So when I was doing the vintage guitar demos for Fretted Americana, they were taking off. At one point that we had no idea what it meant. We were getting 50 million collective views throughout all the videos we'd put
That's
up.
insane.
And we didn't even know what we were doing. And it started like, "Hey, here's the treble pickup, here's the neck pickup, and
Right.
see you next week." And it turned into me just singing and screaming Van Halen, Zeppelin, and Funk 49 by James Gang, and AC/DC, and being my personality came out. And when that happened, bam, now they're 10 minutes long, and then they're 12 minutes long, and then they're 13 minutes long, and my band gets on into the studio and plays a song with that guitar.
Okay.
So it grew and grew and grew, and then at some point it wasn't funny anymore, so it stopped. But if you went to any search engine, and put in Gibson Les Paul, at least one of my videos would be in the top 3, top 2.
Wow. Okay.
So it'd be, and if you didn't know me, you go, "Oh, I like that Les Paul," and then you'd be introduced to me. And what happened to a lot of people who I heard from, obviously, and John Shanks was one of those guys. He discovered me looking for a Les Paul. I was playing the Les Paul, and he said he just went down the rabbit hole and couldn't stop watching my videos.
Wow.
Because the equal parts of funny, shredding, singing, all that stuff.
And nerding out, I guess, right?
And sorry?
Were you nerding out back then, or is it? Or was that more musicianship than gear back then, right?
No, I think it was a comedy, to be honest.
Okay. All right.
But he said, he came up to me. He had a studio at Henson, and I was at Henson Studios with a project. and somebody said that Phil X was in Studio D, so he just marched to Studio D, walked to where I was, and he said, "You're a funny mofo." And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "I just couldn't stop watching your videos last night." And I'm like, "Wow, well, thanks." He goes, "And it sounds like you can play and sing anything. So congratulations, man. I'm a fan." And I was like, "Wow, thank you." And and then he got my number from someone, and he called me and he says, "I got a gig for you." And I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "Well, I can't tell you over the phone."
Wow.
So come by my
Wow.
studio tomorrow and I'll fill you in. And I'm like, "Okay." And that's it. I went into the studio the next day, and he put a contract and a statement of confidentiality right in front of me. And he said, "How do you feel about filling in for Richie Sambora?" And I'm like, "Is that even possible? Like, I don't even know what you're saying. What do you mean?" He
Right.
goes, "Well, he's, he hasn't been very reliable lately, and John doesn't want to be caught in a situation where they can't perform. So he needs a guy ready to walk on stage and do a Bon Jovi show in his place." And I'm like, "No, that's not possible." And he goes, "It is. And I told John that you're the guy.
Wow.
And here's the contract, and here's a statement of confidentiality. Live with everything for a couple of days and hit me back." And I was completely blown away. So I was a huge fan of Slippery When Wet and New Jersey. And
Yeah.
even Keep the Faith, I thought was a great record. But so many records that come out that I had no idea, because I kind of moved on to other bands and stuff like that. I loved the grunge era in the 90s. So
Okay.
I didn't listen to Bon Jovi at that time. So when I thought, when they gave me a list of songs, I knew everything off Slippery When Wet and um and New Jersey, and then, oh, what are these 30 songs?
Wow. So
What the hell is
what
that?
was your inner dialogue? Like, was there a time? So we go back. So you got these two contracts placed in front of you. In that moment, did you have any reservations about signing? Were you
Of
thinking,
course. I literally thought there's no way anybody can jump on that stage and not get tomatoes thrown at them.
so that was your resistance? Was not you weren't interested, but oh my God, I don't know if I can do this.
Well, it's I don't know. I didn't think anybody could do it. I didn't think it was
Yeah.
a feasible situation for, like. And then I thought, okay, dude, if you're gonna get somebody, you might as well do it.
That would
But
have been,
then
yeah.
they sent me DVDs from 2010 shows, and they said, learn the live versions of these songs, and but learn it close to the record. So I had to learn everything
Yeah.
from the record, and then learn live versions, and then watch John and how he cues the band and how he does an intro of a song and how the band kicks in. And there was a lot. That was a lot of homework. And
I
and then it
bet.
was kind of like, so I'm playing to a DVD from Tokyo in 2010 in my living room to my dogs with like a mic and a pocket Marshall for my guitar and a music stand with lyrics on it. And I'm going through the set. And there was one night, and this is where I believe in fate, and this is where I believe in a sign. One
Okay.
night, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. This is way too much work. And I might not even get called. I'm going to be this guy on the side that is there just in case.
You were the understudy.
Right. So as that happened, I was like, screw it. I'm not doing it. Throw the guitar down, put the TV on, put HBO on, and there's a Bon Jovi documentary.
Wow.
So that was the sign.
That was, in my vernacular, that was the universe talking to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that
Wow.
was, and my dad too. So it was kind of like okay, yeah, I guess I'm doing it. So then I continued to finish the set, and then went on and on. And then it was April 2014. No, wait, April 14, 2011, that
Okay.
John called and said, "Hey, Bill." And I didn't answer the phone because it was a strange number, right? Unknown.
Right, right.
And then messages, Phil X, John Bon Jovi calling. I'm calling. Calling back. So I call him back and I go, hey, bud, because we literally did something together in 1990 or 1991. I actually played on his version of Leave On for the
Really?
record. And that was because Aldo Nova I was touring with was on John's label. So they co-wrote and co-produced that record, Blood on the Bricks. So, and Bon Jovi as a band was on a hiatus, and he said, hey, Aldo, why don't you bring your band to my house? So we're going to record this Elton John song that I need to record. So, and that's how that worked. But then I know, like, he meets how many people a day? I know he probably forgot me, right?
Right.
People goes, that must have been why no, it wasn't. There's no way. But he maybe recognized my name, and I kept in touch with Matt Bon Jovi and Tony Bon Jovi, and they're like, why do I know the name Phil X? And he said he was in Aldo's band. And then he was reminded. So when he called, he was basically, hey, so what have you been doing for 20 years? You're just a session cat in LA. And then we, caught up a little bit. But then he goes, look, all I need you to do is show up with a 2-hour and 30-minute set under your belt, ready to go, and you'll do fine.
That's all.
That's all.
Yeah, nothing more than that. Yeah.
But he said, they wanted to fly me to New York to rehearse with the band for a couple of days and put me on hold for May.
Okay.
So lo and behold, more fate happening. As I'm flying, when I land in New York, I hear that Richie has checked into rehab.
Oh, okay.
So John came up to me and goes, hey, did you hear about Richie checking into rehab? I go, yeah. He goes, I guess you're doing May. So we're playing the Jazz Fest, 50,000 people on Saturday. And then you'll be sticking around for a bit.
Wow. Like, just like that.
Just like that. Wow. So we rehearsed for a couple of days, and it was like not like long days. It was a few hours one day, a few hours the next day. And then I was in front of 50,000 people.
Wow.
And, but you knew the audience, the really hardcore fans knew that Richie was in rehab, but still there's 50,000 people going, who the hell is that guy?
Right.
So, and John didn't say anything until the encore, which I felt was kind of weird. Like I thought maybe he'd say, hey, I want to thank Phil X for helping us out, like early on. To just,
right.
Just so to settle
an icebreaker.
Yeah, like what's going on, to settle that.
Yeah.
But no, he waited to the encore, and the funniest thing was he says my name, and you see 50,000 people Google me on their phone.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, I people ask me if I was nervous, but I really didn't have time to be nervous. I really had to stay out of my brain and just be, look, dude, you've been playing and singing your entire life. This is just Bon Jovi songs. You totally got this. And then that's what helped me get through it. And that's what, did 13 shows. And then Richie came back, which was awesome. Because I thought my favorite Bon Jovi is, seeing Richie on stage. So,
right. Now, did you ever share a stage with him, or you were only there when he wasn't?
So in 2013, he disappeared, and I got the call to come in and fill in again, thinking that he'd come back again, but he didn't come back. So I've kind of been there since 2013. He officially quit in 2014, and in 2016, Bon Jovi put out This House Is Not For Sale, which I played on, not every song, but I played on a lot of it. And then I was on that, obviously been on those tours and stuff. Where we did play together was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Where, they were inducted, and it was the band, all the original members, plus Hugh McDonald, because he's been there for 25 years or something.
Okay.
So that was them, but we all played together, and it was very interesting, to say the least.
I bet. I bet it was. Now, in the first instance, in terms of a milestone in your career and your life, what did it feel like to be playing at that as a gig?
Talking about that stuff was is very interesting. I remember we were touring at the time in 2000. now I got my dog. My puppy.
Oh, that's a good looking dog.
Yeah, he's handsome.
Yeah.
This is Gatsby.
He's serving dinner right now.
He is.
Gatsby's serving dinner.
Awesome.
Right
So
Come on, bud.
we literally and it was funny because I did an interview with Pierre out in Pennsylvania on a radio station, like in the arena that we were playing that night.
Oh, wow.
And he goes, dude, you just played on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stage with Bon Jovi. What was that like? And I was like, crowded.
Oh, is it just really compressed?
No, it was the 7-piece touring act plus Richie making it 8, plus Alec making it 9. So you looked across the stage and it looked like I don't know, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right. Yeah. It was very guitar heavy. But
it was pretty amazing. Like, I mean, it was a great night because we got to see the Cars, and my family was there, and my wife Lindy was there, and my mom was there, came down for it, and Gage, our oldest, was there, and it was a very family oriented thing. So
that's very cool. And it looks, you froze up for a sec, so I'll keep chatting till you unfreeze. And I don't know if you can hear me, but Scott's buddy Al Such apparently was there. We're going to wait for you to unfreeze.
Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen will return in a moment, as soon as we figure out what the heck is wrong with this stupid thing.
And we are back with Phil X. We had a few moments of technical difficulties. Now we have a dog interfering with things. But, you know, Phil, one of the things that Scott has a video of, which is just amazing to me, that one of your guitars became airborne. What's the story behind that video?
Okay, so so obviously I play with Bon Jovi, but I also play with Phil X and the Drills, and I also play with there's another artist I've been working with. His name is Kurt Dimer, and Kurt's been opening up for anybody from Jeff Tate last fall to, not last fall, but a year ago fall. Then we opened up for Yngwie Malmsteen for the month of May this year, and then we opened up for Tesla.
Wow.
And
okay.
I feel like, you know, you get 35 minutes to make your point, and he wasn't really advertised. And I mean, there were times where I would go on Instagram and go, hey, I'm playing at this place in Texas with Kurt tonight opening for Tesla. And people come up to me after the show and go, man, I didn't know you were playing tonight. So it just makes me believe that you have to post and content, because people follow so many people that they're in a thread, you miss stuff all the time. But my whole point was that there's got to be something that happens at the end of the show that makes people want you not to leave the stage, like as the opening act. So, you know, we do a finale. I mean, I've always done a finale in all the bands that I'm in. But I mean, I don't drive the Bon Jovi bus. That's John.
Right.
If I'm on stage and John's not on stage, I'm throwing guitars and whipping guitars around my shoulder and stuff like that. So I like that kind of thing where it's rock and roll, man. It came from the Who, you know. Yep. Kicking over his drums. Pete Townsend throwing the guitar up. Guys throwing guitars to their techs. So I'm a classic rock fanatic, and looking for the energy one night, I tossed my guitar. I think the first time might have been last year with Jeff. I threw it at the guitar tech, Bones. His name is Sammy Bones, and he caught it like a champ.
Wow!
Caught it like a champ. I'm like, I'm doing this every night.
I love it.
Obviously, if you would have caught it and dropped it or shit his pants or something like that, that wouldn't have worked, right? But he caught it like a pro. So he caught it, and then the next night I did it again, and then I did it again, and then he's always looking for it. And then there's sometimes I'd go for hang time, and sometimes I'd go for distance. And he sticks his hand out. It goes in his giant mitt, and he puts it in the guitar case ready for the next show. So there was a couple of guys that knew this was going down, so they stood beside Sammy when I tossed it a couple of nights and caught great footage of it.
Oh, that's fantastic, Scott. Let's take a look at that.
You can see that I'm looking to see that he catches it.
I can see that, but it's that's ballsy, man.
Well, the thing is, too, is that we had changed tacks mid-tour.
Okay.
So the guy before, I won't say his name, he probably would have crapped his pants if I threw a guitar at him.
And
So,
that would be awkward for a show, if, like if someone literally
Yeah.
crapped their pants
So-
up there.
That would be awkward. But
Yeah.
Sammy, I kind of, very confident dude, very like hands-on. What do you need? Hey, let me label everything for you. I'm going to mark down all your settings so I never get it wrong. And that guy. So, bam, throw him the guitar, catches it like a pro, move on. Every show since. Unless there is absolutely no room as the opening act and we got no stage, then, it's like handing it to him.
Oh, that's funny. That is
But
great.
when we can get some, hey, there was one shot from the last tour. I think we were opening for Drowning Pool.
Okay.
And the way I tossed it, it did this little spinneroo.
But show us again. That was good on the camera. Can you show us that
You
again?
like that? Now, if
I
it
like
was a
it.
guitar, you'd see
Yeah.
it. They're like, man, how'd you put a spin on it like that? I go, I've been working on it. No, I had no idea that it was going to spin. I mean, when I just toss, I just toss.
That's very good
You
stuff.
gotta find that footage. It's on Instagram somewhere. That would be
All right,
cool.
we'll have to get that. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So I was thinking, you and I, when we were chatting before we went on the air, talking about positivity, and I know you're all about positivity, and you shared with me a very cool Disney World story that I think is just so infused with positivity. I'd love to hear it again.
Well, I try to be a certain way with my kids. I want them to be positive. I want them to, have an enlightened look upon the world, kind of thing. So when it was torrential downpouring on us at Disney World in Orlando one night, and I looked at my son, and he just put his hands out, and he said, "I wish everyone could feel this happiness." And
Wow. And you had him on video for that, right?
I have him on video, man. I have him on video, and he's maybe 6. So he became that guy, and I really was really proud of what he said. And it pulls on your heartstrings and puts a tear in your eye, and it's a magical moment as a dad,
Yeah.
And then, the other part of the story was wearing red Adidas, red suede Adidas, and the dye from the shoe turning my toenails perfectly pink.
Perfectly pink.
Perfectly pink. It was like, I wouldn't be surprised. Wow, did you let your daughter paint your toenails, kind of thing?
Right.
It was really, like, for some reason, it was not my feet, just the toenails. Pink. And then I had to fly to Dusseldorf the next day to rejoin the Bon Jovi tour. So I owned it. Pink toenails at the airport.
In sandals, right?
That's all I had. I had one pair of shoes that was in the garbage now, and flip-flops.
That is the start. So you're, yeah.
And I would rather have pink toenails and flip-flops than wear socks and flip-flops.
Yeah. You're.
That's not right.
If you're 90, you're too young to do that. Yeah. Right. So then there's another piece of the story. So you get recognized. Don't you get recognized in the airport?
Oh, no. Okay. So as a musician, not as Phil X. Like, I get recognized mostly at airports. But this was looking in the Sunglass Hut or whatever.
That's
trying
right.
to find some new sunglasses. And the singer from Fastball came up to me, and I'm like, he starts talking to me, and I go, you look familiar. He goes, yeah, I'm in a band called Fastball. You play too, right? I go, yeah, you can tell by the hair, right? He goes, no, the toenails.
That is fantastic. So I got to tell you, this has been such an enjoyable time getting to know you and chatting with you. And we really want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for asking me. I know scheduling has been weird lately because it's the holidays, and I'm glad that we could find the time to do this because, again, we're geeks and nerds.
Yep.
And we love talking about guitar, and we love talking about rock and roll and bands and things that inspire us, and that's what it's all about.
Yep, and kids, right?
Kids, man, make the world go around.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Felix, what's next for you? And then we'll sign off. What does this 2023 look like for you?
Oh, so 2023 already within the last couple of weeks has been like, woo, look out. I got invited to participate in Joe Satriani's G4 in Las Vegas, and that's January 3rd to the 7th.
Okay.
And then right after that, on the 10th, I'm going to go to Cincinnati and rehearse with Kurt Deimer. We're going to do 2 shows supporting Tesla in Texas again. One is Lubbock, which is a pickup date that we couldn't do last when was that? September. And then so we're doing that, and we're also playing Fort Worth. So if you go see Tesla in January at those 2 shows, you're gonna see me in the opening.
Very cool.
Kurt Deimer. So we kick ass, man. We have a really special thing. The songs are really strong, and I love being able to make art on different canvases. So I got the Bon Jovi canvas over here, I got the Phil X and the Drills over here, and I was looking for something else to do where the songs were really, really important. And it wasn't me singing, but I've recorded with a lot of the best singers in the world, so I wanted to find someone who just had a character, and that's Kurt Deimer. Definitely has a character to his voice, and we have a lot of fun. The band is kick ass, and rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Let's sign out together. That's right. That's right. I did it wrong. I kind of pointed. There we go.
And the flying guitar.
That's right. The flying guitar. I like it. I can't really replicate what you're doing. I'll try it again. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Really. No, I failed. It's an epic fail. Sorry about that. We'll leave it to you. You got the patent on that. So, Felix, again, thank you so much for joining us on Guitar Tales. I want to thank Scott Guitarist Engel for setting up the show, for working the board, for being the creative genius he is.
Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely, man. We're looking at him right now. He's in the control room behind the scenes at Noise Network Studios. We want to thank Charles Larita of Mischief Studios, who is our sponsor.
Wait,
you go.
Talk about Mischief Studios before. There should be a Mischief Studios in every city.
There should be. We're going to tell Charles that.
Everything that they do, from the studio to the store to the fixing guitars to, hey, you don't have a drummer? We got a drummer. Recording and all that stuff.
I love it.
That community just sounds incredible. There should be a community like that everywhere.
Yeah, you should. We'll send you the episode that Charles did. Gifted musician, great guy, and real generous soul, too. So we were really happy when he came back to us and became a sponsor of the show. Nice. And absolutely. And by the way, wait till you watch this bumper. Big Daddy, take it away.
I'm number 2. No, I was the second. That's right. I was the second one. The second on Guitar Tales, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching it right now. I'm Big Daddy Ed with the Amish Outlaws. I gotta go back to work. Here we go. Guitar Tales, watch it!
Hi, this is Dave Cohen, host of Guitar Tales, and
Got Guitar Mrs. Dangle.
so we put together this show every week for you guys, or at least every other week. We want you to do two things for us, which would be good for everyone. If you could subscribe on our YouTube channel, that would be great. And
share. Please share the videos around with your friends. Let them know Guitar Tales is out there. It's not just about guitar players. We have a lot to offer.
thank you.